We're going to tear it all down.
The light is with me, even here.
Nothing escapes the law.
Huh. Oh my god, is that a PvP vendor? Well, Shadowlands has been out long enough to where most people who would verbally assault anyone who would criticize the game has dropped by a vast majority, aka the honeymoon period is over. So let's criticize Shadowlands. But before we start, I should make one thing clear. I am mainly talking about the endgame here, because for the better part of 2 decades, World of Warcraft hasn't been a leveling game, or a story game. WoW has been, and always will be, an endgame game. So real quick, the leveling of Shadowlands, how is it? It's fantastic. Zones look great, the story's the best it's been in years, and the level squish makes gaining levels feel good for the first time in a long time. So, Shadowlands leveling is good. But what do I think about the end game? Well, for the most part, I like Shadowlands. But even though I say I like Shadowlands, why do I like it? Honestly, it's not because of anything the expansion has brought to the table. What I really like from Shadowlands is that my player character doesn't feel gimped anymore, and PvP doesn't feel like I'm fighting a healing raid boss where the mechanics change depending on whatever DPS their partner is. The game fundamentally feels better to play. That's just a fact that all content creators seemingly agree upon. But honestly, I gotta say, especially now that the honeymoon period is over and I'm able to look back at the game objectively, that for me personally, everything new that Shadowlands has brought to the game has kind of failed to innovate. What do I mean by that? Well, first, let's go over what the expansion is all about. Now, WoW expansions usually boast some new feature that will help your character gear up faster and hit things really hard. Shadowlands isn't like that at all. Matter of fact, the only way to really get gear this expansion is from dungeons, PvP, and raiding, which aren't new to the game at all. And this is kind of what players have been asking for a while now. The Shadowlands content is all semi-optional activities for funsies, cosmetics, and a little bit of borrowed power sprinkled in to incentivize you to participate and piss you off. So the state of the endgame really is all about, are the M-Pluths worth doing? Is the raid fun and cool? And what is the state of PvP? Also, when referring to Shadowlands content, is it fun? Or does it waste your time? So real quick, let's go through all the old stuff that hasn't changed much, aka everything that gets you gear. And let's go through them lightning fast. Dungeons. The dungeons are well designed, relatively, and classes are designed well enough that doing mythic dungeons doesn't feel like a chore anymore, but not getting loot at the end of a possibly hour-long run and instead getting 35 anima feels like catching the plague. Also, they said they're bringing back Valor points, basically the same way they brought back PvP vendors, but they aren't here now and haven't been the whole expansion. PvP. PvP balance isn't perfect. Never has been, never will be. But the fact that you can actually kill someone in less than 5 minutes and you and your opponent both see the same damage numbers feels so damn good it carries the whole expansion. Also, PvP vendors make all other forms of gearing irrelevant unless you're in a guild doing heroic or mythic. Raiding. Hot take, raiding in Final Fantasy XIV made me hate raiding in WoW because it just seems so bland in comparison, and you have so many other people there to screw it up for you. And due to the aforementioned PvP vendors, normal mode is completely irrelevant since you can gear up faster solo queuing in random battlegrounds. Not to mention, you can only really do heroic or mythic if you either A, get a guild, B, have already done heroic so you could pug it, or C, have a popular streaming channel. Follow my Twitch. So all the stuff that gets your character gear is ranked, in my personal opinion, as for decent. Alright, now that we got all that out of the way, what about the stuff that doesn't get you gear, i.e., all the things that Shadowlands added, the new ways to play the game. Well, that basically boils down to since all this stuff is new for the most part, let's go a little more in depth. So, Sanctum upgrades are in 4 different brackets. One that enables zone-specific rares and dailies, one that sets up a domestic fast travel network, one that... Hold on, when I wrote this script, I literally could not remember what the 3rd Sanctum upgrade is. Can you? I flew all the way back to my Sanctum from Oribos to check, and I didn't remember the entire flight path. Turns out it was the command table. Yeah, that's right. The garrison table touted as a major feature for the first time since WoD. And lastly, we have a Covenant-specific minigame. The only one I've tried so far is the Ember Court. And it's a Fill the Bar world quest. Yay. Also, there's a ton of cosmetics to sink any extra anima you have into. A majority of this anima you get from dailies and world quests. The world quests are so time-consuming, they make me feel like I'm leveling again. That's probably because one world quest is just replaying a quest you did while leveling. At least, that's how it worked in Legion. Shadowlands world quests are about 5 quests you did while leveling, but the reward is equal or lesser to the reward from Legion world quests. And then there's the daily callings. They take... Here, let me stop writing this script, turn on an OBS, and go check just how long it takes to do all 3 of my callings. 55 minutes and 36 seconds, and I've turned in all of my daily callings. And I got some blues to disenchant, some herbs, and let's see what else. Graze for vendoring, and a conduit for a spec I don't play. 1 hour. 1 hour for 500 anima, a conduit for my spec that I'm not, 6k gold, and a small amount of enchanting reagents. Oh, and rep. How could I forget about rep? But if you really think about it, you need the rep and anima to buy the same items. So really, you're just getting 2 currencies at the same time, both of which you need for the same item. Kinda redundant. But hey, at least all those things are something, as opposed to Stygia, which is basically nothing. Stygia is the currency you earn in the Maw, a zone where you can't mount, and it's actually so bad the game doesn't want you to be there. After endlessly grinding Stygia and Maw rep, you can use the Stygia to buy sockets to put on your gear. But before that endless grind is over, you spend Stygia on items that you use to get more Stygia. So you can buy items that you use to get more Stygia. Or you can buy permanent upgrades for Torghast, Tower of the Damned. Torghast, Tower of the Damned, is where you go to make legendary pieces of armor. It's also Blizzard's latest attempt at borrowing another game's formula. And is it any good? I mean, the first couple times, yeah, it was fun, interesting, and different. It has semi-random layouts, so it's different every time around, and powers to enhance your class, kind of like talent points or legendaries. It's cool to modify your gameplay, but the amount of unique powers per class is not really equal. As time has gone by, Torghast is, nowadays, slow, monotonous, and samey. Every level 8 Torghast run takes the exact same amount of time, and gives you the same powers. Oh, also, it's mandatory if you want the maximum possible damage output. Also, it's not like I hate roguelikes or anything. I like Hades. I like Faster Than Light. This, though, it's bland. Apparently, Torghast, Tower of the Damned, wasn't always like this. In fact, the beta version had cool, overpowered abilities and builds, but that was beta, and you know.
Times change.
And that leaves us with the last kind of optional piece of Shadowlands content. The Covenant campaign. And yeah, I like the Covenant campaign. It carries on the story way better than the war campaign from BFA did. I liked every week going to do a couple of quests, see some cool story development, watch Kael'thas freak out and burn some shit. It was cool. I liked it. What I don't like is having all that progress go away when I swap to Kyrian because Resonant Arrow is 1,000 times better for PvP. And in Shadowlands, changing covenants is just code for wasting time. Thanks for that, Blizzard. So when I say Shadowlands fails to innovate, what am I comparing that to? In Classic WoW, the world was dangerous, your character was slow, quests were spread everywhere, raids were magnificent but easy, PvP was unbalanced and ridiculously grindy for the best rewards, and it was so hard to get gold. In the Burning Crusade, they made the world less dangerous by introducing flying mounts. They were also faster than flight paths. Quests went from there being 14 spread throughout the entire zone, and that's it, to there being a set amount of quests that were given in one place and covered one part of a zone. Raids were made harder, and the raid sizes were made smaller, so people wouldn't lag to death. They also added raids that required doing other raids. So if you had a legendary, you didn't just go in and loot it off the boss, you looted it off the boss whose raid had 6 other prerequisite raids to get inside. They made PvP rewards able to be gotten by anyone as long as they had the time and skill to rank up in the arena. But this ranking didn't harm other players' ranking, other than when you crushed them with your broken comp. Meaning, you could win an argument of who's better just by whipping out a bigger rating. Also, they added dailies, so gold wasn't only attainable by mages and crafters anymore. All of the biggest complaints from Classic WoW were solved, not by removing systems, not by adding a new system for every problem, but by innovating what was already there. And heroic dungeons. That way, lower level dungeons aren't made irrelevant, and you only have one dungeon to do. Fantastic idea. What does Shadowlands do? Makes world quests take longer, makes Timeless Isle unrewarding, slow, and kick you out after long enough. Takes emissary quests, makes their reward a mystery that could result in you wasting your time for pennies in an inflated economy, or a relic for another spec. I sure am glad that Blizzard solved the issue of players not seeing the other 11 class Order Hall campaigns by making it so you could only miss 3 of them. And I'm really glad that instead of giving us another row of talents for the first time in more than half a decade, they decided to arbitrarily limit player choice and connect that limited choice to aesthetic and story, especially when our classes already do that. So we have 2 layers of aesthetic and story limitations on top of each other. But hey, remember, it might sound like I hate Shadowlands after listening to this video. I have been pretty harsh on it, but funnily enough, like I said at the beginning of the video, I actually really like Shadowlands. Why?
Bam, bop, pow.
Kill shot, go brrrr. Hey, thanks for watching my video. It means a lot to me that you stuck around to the end. And hey, maybe consider subscribing or following my Twitch or something. Thanks.